Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to the City Boys podcast. My name is Ethan Thornton, and I am joined by two of the biggest St. Louis City fans I know. You gentlemen want to introduce yourself?
Oh, shit. I can go first. I'm Grayson. I am currently moving. I'm in between apartments, so I'm in an empty room. I do have a little podcast buddy here with me. This is Dixie Bean. But yeah, we're kind of riding it empty this week. No flags, no city kids, but the passion is still here. Come on, City. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, as always, my name is Jacob, and passion is riding high, especially after the tumultuous week, I guess you could say, we went through. But we're still here. We're still talking about it, still grinding just like the lads in St. Louis. So let's kick this one off.
Yes, sir. We had a busy 7 days with 3 games. The last time we talked, St. Louis City had just played Vancouver. So quickly, we're going to recap the Seattle game for you, and then we're going to go through in a deep dive of the Sporting Kansas City game. Grayson, will you take us through the lineups for Seattle, please?
Oh, you betcha. You betcha. Let's take a peek here. All right, so we got the 4-2-3-1 familiar lineup for this match. So we got Berkey in between the sticks, holding it down, back line, Thomas Totland right back, Tim Parker center back, Joachim Nilsson makes it back into the starting lineup, doesn't play the full 90. We should mention that a little bit. Kyle Hebert comes in the left back position. In the double pivot, we got Leuven in his best spot, in my opinion, next to Chris Durkin. We got Johnny Klein out on the right wing, Kahima playing the 10, Vasilev on the left, and Thorson up top. We had a couple big substitutions, quite a few actually. We had Joyner come in. That's a City 2 guy, Mickey Joyner. He came on, made his debut, and he looked like a little spark plug. He got some nice dribbling in, cutting into the box. Looked decent. Akil Watts comes in. Jaden Reed. We got Caden Glover, Josh Yarrow, and Blom rounding out the squad.
Yeah, quick goal recap. Last time we faced Seattle, we did concede first with our very own Kyle Hebert own goal, and much of the same for this match with Tim Parker getting on the score sheet in the worst way possible. In the 27th minute, had an own goal. Trying to make sure that Jordan Morris didn't get on the end of a cross, and it just takes a touch right off of Tim Parker's foot and in the back of our net. More of the same bullshit that City's been facing this season, and it did not end in Seattle. And then later on in the match, 49th minute, shout out John Bell, former City defender turned Seattle defender, started against us and sealed the game with a towering header to put Seattle up 2-0.
Yep, and of course, as you mentioned, Grayson, in the dying moments of that match, Joachim Nilsson did have to take a substitution because once again, his hamstring has been re-aggravated. We don't know the seriousness or the extent at the moment of his injury, but incredibly frustrating that one of our keystones of our defense has gone down injured once again.
And Indiana Vasilev broke his nose in Seattle as well.
Oh my God.
Not pretty.
It was a bust up of a match. I think two major takeaways. Of course, our aerial defending has not looked great. Another goal from a header. Just disappointing. Man marking has become a big issue for us defending set pieces, corners, crosses, that sort of thing. We're looking super weak. Secondly, Seattle kept a clean sheet against us. So that was, we have been losing a lot recently, but we have been, getting our goals when we can. But that was a clean sheet for Seattle. So, good on them for shutting us out. But rough week for us, rough match day.
Yeah, and with that clean sheet, Stefan Fry tied, I forget the guy's name, but for all-time clean sheets in the MLS. So tough road loss in Seattle.
Yeah, bring us back to the Midwest. This time we had a heater of a rivalry match, the headline matchup in the MLS this week. Sporting Kansas City versus St. Louis City. Gentlemen, we're still waiting on a name for this rivalry. Anyone have any suggestions?
I mean, we always had like the I-70, like connecting the two cities. So like you can go like the I-70 Derby. What was it? The soccer capital Derby or something like that. I like those two. Those are decent.
Both aren't bad. I think I saw Justin Horniker, the reporter for St. Louis City, call it the Muddy River rivalry, which I don't hate. Uh,
We
yeah,
could go less PC with us being red and then being blue if you're following the lines, what I'm alluding to around gang violence rivalry, but you know.
Well, with that being said, once again, Grayson, will you take us through the lineups for our match against Sporting Kansas City, our annoying little brothers?
Indeed, I will. And yeah, Hackworth came out with a little bit of an experiment this week. We had from Footmob. Footmob calls it a 3-4-2-1. I'll break it down a little bit more in my point a little bit later. So here we go. We got Berkey in between the sticks, which with what could have been a man of the match performance from him. We had a back three of Kyle Hebert on the right, Tim Parker in the holding it down in the center back, and Jaden Reed on the left. We got Thomas Totland on the right mid, double little midfield from Jabulo Blom and Akil Watts holding down that center defensive mid. Johnny Klein out on the left. We've got exciting new addition to the squad with Two-Shirt coming in at the left 10 position, just playing in next to Edward Leuven with Thorson up top. Couple subs, notably Markinage coming on for Johnny Klein. Once again, getting minutes at the left mid position. Not my favorite from him. Kahima comes on. Josh Yarrow. Another new name. We had Gerwood Reich getting a couple minutes. He came on in the 84th. You know, not too much of an impression just because he didn't have too much time to do anything with the game, but glad he saw the pitch. And then Caden Glover did come on at the same time, 84th for Thorson.
Yeah, it was a weird lineup. It was a weird game. Just we're gonna get into it more in our points, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of the 3-4-2-1.
Yeah, I'm of the philosophy if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But our 4-2-3-1 so far has not worked out this season. So at the very least, I commend John Hackworth for trying something new and playing around with the pieces that we've got to give us the best chance to win. Although we will see how it played out. Gentlemen, we ready to break down this game?
Absolutely.
Well, I would be delighted to kick us off and take us through the first 30 minutes of arguably the best rivalry in the young history of the rivalry so far. Sporting Kansas City kicks off the ball, and only 8 minutes in do we see the first highlight when Johnny Russell cuts on to his right foot toward the outside of the box, but Berkey comes up with a big save and parries it almost 30 yards out. But the danger had not been averted just yet. Leibold picks it up on the outside of the box, almost 30 yards out, and takes it first time on his right foot, nearly sticks it into the upper V, but Roman Berkey doubles up on his save counter and keeps it 0-0 in the first half. Next up in the 19th minute, Berkey makes a much easier save from a Kansas City set piece that Nick Castellanos found his head on. He was offside, so ultimately the play was for nothing. The last chance in the first 30 minutes, though, we'll see Saloi from Sporting Kansas City get through Blom and Hebert with a really good move. He like kind of chips it through, does that nice little dink through, but he meets Berkey once again. Berkey doing his best impression of a windshield wiper, keeps the game 0-0, keeps his amazing goalkeeping form going. Grayson, you want to take us through the next 30?
For sure, for sure. I think that guy's name is I know the announcers were pronouncing it Shallowy or something like that. I know we were chatting throughout the game. It's kind of hard to admit, but we were talking about which Kansas City players we'd take on St. Louis City. Rough notes there, but Shallowy was personally my pick. He looked pretty lively, and that move was scary. Anyways, back to the match though. For real. 33rd minute, Thor gets a yellow for pulling Agata back. It was an attack in transition. I didn't really think it was too big of a chance, so it was kind of a silly yellow, but could have come back to bite us in the butt later in the match. Luckily, it did not, but we might talk about that a little bit later. 38th minute, Tommy free kick dinked into the box. Ball's knocked down to Radoja. I don't even know how to say that. He's Croatian. Who half volleys it softly into the corner, but Berkey Superman stretches and lays out for it. 41st minute, Akil Watts takes it down in the fast break for St. Louis, carries it downfield, knocks a ball across to Johnny Klein. He's got a couple runners running in front of him. He slides it over to Thor. He cuts back, sending the defender to the ground. He stumbles, but he stands up his defender, hesitates on the ball, creates a little bit of space, almost a little bit too much time on the ball, but he would eventually slot it into the top right corner. In my opinion, this is Thor's best goal so far.
Easily, even though he looked like he had the leg control of a newborn deer, he managed to put it away, and great to see a striker in form.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing I think I've watched out of St. Louis all year. Like, I was elated that we had scored and we had started leading, but my first thoughts after he had scored, I was cackling, sitting on my couch watching that whole entire play unfold.
Yeah, it was sloppy, but it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. I'll give it to him. Little bit after that, 44th minute, Akil Watts picks up a yellow card for going to ground, little tackle from behind. Listen, if you saw this match, there was much worse tackles that deserved yellows. This was not the worst one. 46th minute, Totland gets a chip through ball. He's in on goal, but some really outstanding Kansas City defending would cut out the shot. After that, little slight chances for SKC, but it only begs mentioning because of a nice sweeping clearance from Tim Parker.
I thought overall Tim Parker had a hell of a game. I know recently we'd been talking about whether or not we should re-sign him or not. I think a game like this really goes into the argument category of why we should sign him, because he did come up so clutch in a bunch of big moments for us. But moving into the final 30, we start quick. In the 61st minute, there's a ball over the top to Agata. Agata lays it off to Johnny Russell. Russell out to Tommy. Gets fouled, kind of. It's a soft foul, and he's sitting on the ground begging for the referee to call for a foul. Get up, grown-ass man. Shut up. Tommy drives into the box, and he shoots wide of the post. In the 66th minute, there's a free kick. Again, Tommy, he's on the ball. He takes a shot. It goes low of our wall, takes a deflection off of one of our defenders. Could have been Lowen, could have been Parker. Wasn't really clear in the highlight reel to tell me one way or the other. And it's out wide for a corner kick. On that corner, Blom carelessly gives the ball away in an attempt to clear it with the outside of his foot. The ball fell to Shallowy. Shallowy to Tommy, back to Shallowy, who shot high of our net. In the 70th minute, we have our own free kick, and our free kick specialist, Edu Leuven, is standing over the ball. And it just gives me so much hope and pride when he's over the ball. I think any moment of magic could come when the ball's at his feet, and it almost did. He took the free kick over the wall, under the bar, but it smacked the post to go out for a goal kick. The commentators thought it was going to be a corner kick. They thought that Tim Melia was able to get to it, but there was no way Tim Melia was getting to that ball, even if it was completely on target. That ball was going in the net. In the 73rd minute, possession in our end by Kansas City. Ball gets pushed out wide to Alan Polito, who subbed on for them. Definitely their super sub for this game. Polito gets the ball, chips in across to our back post in the 6-yard box, and Agata is the only one who jumps up, rises high, and heads the ball home to draw the game level at 1 apiece. That was a tough goal to watch. A lot of fingers being pointed. I know Reed wanted it to be offside, but both him and Parker were caught ball watching. Freaking Berkey was yelling at his defenders for not getting it cleared. It's a tough area. Part of me thinks Berkey should be on that ball. The other part of me thinks Reed should be rising up to try to block that header. It's a tough one to concede. What did you see there, Ethan?
So I do want to give a lot of credit to Alan Polito because his ability to create chances like that has been on display all season for Sporting Kansas City. I am frustrated with St. Louis City's ability to defend crosses in the box. We've seen this before. It seems like it's deja vu almost. I saw some chatter that Roman Berkey shouldn't be covering his near post there, but Alan Bolito's a kind of the kind of quality attacker that can find the near post. So I think he made the right decision there. Tim Parker, I believe, is who should have been picking up a Gata because I think Johnny Russell was on Jaden Reed's back. So in my book, that's who I'm pointing the finger at. Realistically, is a good team shouldn't point fingers at anyone, but it was really frustrating to see and totally unmarked Agata just rise up and tap it in.
I will say credit to Tim Parker. Where's my mic? There it is. So I will say credit to Tim Parker. I know in the post-match presser, he took credit for that goal. He said, "Hey, that marking was on me. I lost my man." So yeah, just like true professional that he is, he's willing to own up to it. And yeah, that was like one moment in his match, but overall he had a great strong match for City. And it's a good way to bounce back. Although, yeah, one little mistake seems to be the story of the season for us.
Yeah, and mistakes continued. In the 82nd minute, there was a turnover to STL. Edu was driving forward and gets taken down by Leibold to draw a yellow for Leibold. Remember that this yellow card took place. This is very important for what's to come at the end of this match. In the 86th minute, Tim Melia tries to go short on a goal kick, but neither of his center backs are paying attention. And the only people that saw it were both Caden Glover and Edu Loven. Caden Glover goes and reacts first to try and shoot it, but Tim Melia is playing it as perfectly as you could after quite a blunder. He's low, he's got his arms out to the side, he's just making himself as big as possible right in front of that ball, and Glover's shot bounces off of him, finds the feet of Edu. Glover can't really get out of the way, in my opinion. Like, the best he could have done at that point in time is just drop to the ground, which is not your first thought. But Edu gets the rebound and shoots it right into the back of Caden Glover. And that point for me is like right where we should have won the game. We score that goal, we go all out defense, low block, and just grind out 3 points. But seeing it hit the back of Glover, like, that is another one of those moments where it has just summed up our season. We're not getting lucky in those lucky chances like we had last season or even earlier in this season when we looked like a complete team. So going from that, in the 88th minute, there was a header clearance from Parker off of a corner kick. The ball landed at Kahima. Kahima heads it over one defender, heads it past the second defender being Kyrie Shelton, who then, in a similar foul that Thorson had earlier in the match, just brings down Kahima, earns himself a yellow card. Then we move into the 94th minute. The yellow card I told you guys to remember earlier, Leibold. In the 94th minute, Leibold comes over the back of Kahima to try to win a header, falls on top of him, stays on top of him, doesn't try to get off of him. It would piss anybody off in that scenario, really got under Kahima's skin. Kahima shoves him off one time and then shoves him again, and Leibold stands up talking shit to Kahima as if he's going to do something, like, buddy, you look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, shut your bitch ass mouth. And Kahima is the one who gets a yellow card from this because of retaliation. When, in my opinion, I think dude needs 5 fingers right through the fucking nose. Get off my boy Kahima. And that would basically round out the end of the game, and we would leave Kansas City, the Furniture Mart, with 1 point apiece.
Yeah, ultimately back to our drawing ways at the home of the Nebraska Furniture Park. All I want to say to Tim Leibold real quick is you a hoe, bruh. Jose Kojima's 22. You're 30 years old. Find something to do other than being a bully, just standing over someone on the ground like that. That's boo. And real quick before we move on, I want to qualify what I said about Tim Parker by also saying that this was a vintage performance from him. It felt like the MLS Defender of the Year finalist that we saw last year. He was going all out into tackles, going to ground in very smart and concise ways. He never really put a foot wrong this game. Just got caught ball watching that one moment. So overall strong performance from our defense in general. The only other time we saw a three back this season, Anthony Markinich featured in the center, and I thought Jaden Reed was miles and miles above that in the center back role. I think he has shown his quality as a two-way player. When he joins the attack, he provides a good level of quality on the ball as well as with his service, and his one-on-one defending is strong. He's also not afraid to go into battle with players like Johnny Russell, experienced MLS veterans. So I think he's just such a promising young player, and it was great watching him play next to Tim Parker last night.
Yeah, Jaden Reed's definitely going to be huge for the club. And yeah, with the 1-1 draw, at first I was feeling a little disappointed by it. We did score first. We played great defense, held the back line strong, and they got to sneak one in at the last second. So, at first I was super disappointed in the draw, but going back and looking at the stats and how SKC really did dominate a lot of the offensive possession. I think, we did pretty well to hold them off for quite some time. I just wish we could have held them for the full 90.
Yeah, so results of both of those games, we find ourselves still in 13th place on 23 points, 1 point behind Sporting Kansas City, but we have 25 matches played. Casey's got 26. A couple of people above us have 26 matches played. So kind of a game in hand, kind of not. Vancouver's only played 24 matches, which blows me away that they're on 38 points with 2 less games played. So yeah, not a lot of movement, but for what is this, 3rd week in a row now, we're still under Sporting Kansas City, so I'd like to at least get back on top of them.
Indeed.
I think this takes us into our points, and by my count, I think Grayson, you're up first.
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick it off. So I started to get into it a little bit earlier when I was hitting the lineups and the formations, but just wanted to come out and praise John Hackworth for already showing a little bit of flexibility and just experimenting a little bit with the squad. Although it was a little ballsy in a must-win, not a must-win, but a statement performance against our rivals. So it was definitely an important match to take seriously. So we were in the 3-5-2-1 formation that kind of shifted around, 3-4-2-1. Yeah, 3-4-2-1. Yeah. That shifted into a 2 at the top at times when we're pressing, with Thor and two-shirt pressing as the double striker at times. With squad kind of lacking in depth on the wings at the moment, with Vasilev injured with his nose, Pompeu gone, Hack Alexisson, Totland, and Johnny Klein up the wings instead. Both of them found a lot of space, I felt running down the wings, so that was pretty nice. I felt like Klein got a lot of space, and we didn't really utilize him that much. I thought we could have, sprayed the ball out wide to him a bit more and let him take on some people, let him gain his confidence during the match. Then Jalen Reed moves into the left center back position. Thought he did pretty solid, definitely better than Markinich at that center back position, we just mentioned. And of course, big notable return to the lineup. Hebert coming back into the center back spot, looked super comfortable back there. But in my opinion, the biggest shift we saw in the squad was getting to see Akil Watts kind of re-attempt that CDM role. Harped at it a little bit from time to time because he did try it last season against Colorado Rapids, and that performance really went under the radar. Nothing notable, but this match really like spoke up and showed that like giving players second chances is very important to this club because Akil's definitely shown his worth. Tore up the middle of the pitch, excelling in the strategy of win the ball back and give it to Leuven. And he also brought a little bit of ball carrying action to the pitch that we don't get to see too often. He went 2 for 2 on completed dribbles. We see it from time to time on the when he plays left back, like coming up and down the wings. He has the ability to drive with the ball. So if we put him in the middle of the pitch, maybe it'll look a little bit different. But defensively is where he shined. He had most tackles in the match. He went 5 for 5, didn't put a foot wrong, 7 recoveries of the ball. He also won 10 duels in the match, which was the match high. He's not the most well-rounded, but this shows like that he is versatile in positioning. Like he can play center back, he can play CDM. So that shows like it definitely shows his value and gives us a little bit of options when we need to rotate our midfield.
I want to just agree with that. Like I thought Akil Watts recently, even though we've had this like downward spiral, has been one of the brighter spots on the team. I know he had a little bit of a blunder not playing defense a couple of weeks ago. Well, he was playing defense, he just wasn't tracking back quickly, but he's a hard person for me to even consider not starting, whether it be an outside back or even a CDM type role. Like I think Akil Watts has made a point and proven why he should be on the field in a starting 11.
I totally agree, Jacob. In my book, he is surprisingly challenging Chris Durkin. Like, if I were Chris Durkin, I would definitely be trying to avoid another yellow card suspension after seeing Akil Watts perform that way. And with that being said, I think Akil Watts has consistently performed better than his counterpart in the midfield in Jabu Blum. And given that Blom is in a weak run of form right now, not permanent though, he's just making mistakes pretty consistently. I would give Akil a run there. And just based on last night, if I had to give one player comparison, just one, and this may be a hot take, perhaps a Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of player at St. Louis City. You know, I don't think that he quite has the long ball capacity, but as far as development goes, I could see Akil Watts turning into that kind of player.
Yeah, I think he definitely deserves all this praise he's getting. Trent is a little bit of a stretch, but I like the vision. I like the vision. Last kind of wrapping up my point here, just wanted to go back to that post-match interview. Tim Parker, saying praises about the formation. He said he felt like he saw some positives coming from it. Not sure if he's just being nice to the new manager or if he really meant it, but hey, if the players are enjoying the formation, I'm down to try it again. The only negative I did see, we did kind of burn out and fizzle out pretty fast, especially on the wings. Thomas Totland and Johnny Klein had to get subbed in like the 50th, 60th minute just because they're running so much on the wings. So not sure how sustainable the formation will be, but like so far so good, especially when you throw in Hartel, Darkin, Klaus, eventually Pompeu. This formation could be a very different look for St. Louis. So exciting things to come.
Yeah, the list goes on with that too, Grayson. Ostrak, a healthy St. Louis City side is going to be a much, much better team. With that being said, we good for me to move into our second point? All right, gentlemen. It seems like every week on social media, I see people running their mouths about Roman Berkey and how he could have done this and how he could have done that, how he's on his way out. I'm here to tell you that Roman Berkey is the man and the reason that St. Louis City is not quite literally last in the table. St. Louis City this season has played to 11 draws, and right now those results could not be more critical. I'm going to go through these draws and count how many saves Roman Berkey has collected in these matches just to display how many times he has bailed us out of sketchy situations. You all right? Y'all bear with me. 1 save against RSL to start off the season, 2 against Austin, 5 against a very good Los Angeles side, 1 against DC, which includes the one of the leading scorers in the league, Christian Benteke, 4 against Dallas, 1 against Sporting Kansas City, our rivals, to win us a point, 7 saves against Houston, 7 saves against Miami. I didn't say it. The same team. He made 2 consecutive games with 7 saves. He's unbelievable. 2 against Portland, 6 against Atlanta, and 5 against Sporting Kansas City last night, all to win us 11 major points. Without these 11 points, we'd be sitting on 12 points, and we could potentially point fingers toward the attack, but I'm going to give all of the credit to our man between the sticks. He's an MLS All-Star this year, picked by Wilfred Nancy, the coach, for a reason. The caliber of his saves have been top-notch. You are not going to find a better goalkeeper in the MLS. I will admit that the statistics don't necessarily back up this argument, okay? And saves percentage, I know he's hardly breaking the top 15, but watch him. Watch the saves that he makes against the players that he makes, against the chances that he makes, and you'll see that he is a very clear reason that St. Louis City is still even in contention, that we can talk about playoffs still, despite being second bottom in the West. With all that being said, I want to wrap up my point with a quick recap of our brand new signings performances. Cedric Teukert, the choo-choo train, and Jake Girdwood Reich. Now, JGR really only played around 10 minutes. He came on in the 84th minute and then saw 4 minutes of stoppage time. Did get a few touches, really tried to get stuck into the game, but didn't really have enough time to make an impact, in my opinion. However, we did get to see a good sample game for Cedric Teukert. He got around 63 minutes and earned himself a 6.1 on FOTMob. He was actually involved in a couple of really good chances for St. Louis City throughout the game in some 1v1s and being our top man, the outlet, but unfortunately didn't really produce anything in those moments. He honestly did fail to produce. So my expectations were a little bit higher in this first game, but I'm just glad he's getting his feet under him, getting back to 90-minute match fit, and my expectations are still incredibly high for the Cedric Teukert choo-choo train.
I just wanted to say that Teukert looked new to the league. Like, definitely he's new to the club. He's still learning his teammates, learning formation, learning the style. And like the MLS is a step up from Bundesliga 2, in my opinion. So yeah, like there is going to be a little bit of a learning period. Of course, we kind of expected all of our new signings to bail us out, but we can't expect that. Like, we're only human. These guys have to grow with the club. So yeah, not the greatest debut for any of our new guys, but there's a lot more matches to be played. And they're professionals. They're going to grow with the team. So we'll see you coming.
Yeah, 2 things to say as far as the signings. I think even though Jake Girdwood Reich had a very, very short stint in this game with 10 minutes, it is a good sign that he didn't fuck up in 10 minutes. He wasn't a reason we ended up losing this match. Granted, he didn't do anything to push us forward to win the match, but no news on his form in 10 minutes is better than bad news, in my opinion. And then as far as Teukert, I liked his performance. Yeah, he didn't produce, but his ghost run for the Thorson goal needs to be talked about. Without him making that ghost run, Thorson doesn't have that space to get on the ball and then fumble fuck his way to a goal. Then Teukert, I think a really promising sign from him is he took on like 3 or 4 defenders in one run of play where he just dribbled down the field, cutting right through their defense. He was hard done to have his shot blocked at the end of it, but if that's the first sign of things to come, that's a very promising sign as far as his ability in our team. It did look like he was only gonna get 60 minutes when he was about to be subbed out. He was checking out the time and like looking back at the bench. So I think he was probably a little not fully game fit and probably ready to be subbed off. And finally, as far as it goes, I think it's a pretty high ask to ask a newcomer to your team to get stuck in a rivalry match when they've yet to play a competitive minute for your roster. So, even though it wasn't necessarily a perfect performance from him, we were asking for a lot from him, and I thought he delivered pretty well.
Agreed. Agreed. He's certainly getting his feet under him, and nothing to be too disappointed by. I think glimpses of his quality were shown, and I can't wait to see what else he can produce with the newly arrived Marcel Hartel, who just made it into St. Louis today. But I think that wraps up my point pretty well. Jacob, round it out for us, buddy.
With pleasure, gentlemen. My point this week is twofold. First fold, Grayson, are you with us?
Yes, sorry. I accidentally muted my shit again. What is going on? I'm in safe driving mode.
You look like you're driving to me. Anyways, my point this week is twofold. First fold is we conceded way too much possession in this match. I know, yeah, it's kind of our shtick with the way we play the game in the Gegenpress, but only having 38% possession in this match is a negative in my opinion, especially because when we did have possession, we weren't nearly as cutthroat with it. We weren't winning the ball high up the field as much as we used to. We only won it a handful of times, and then the lack of capitalizing on the Tim Melia blunder really put this game to bed for us. I think our system does work when we're all firing on all cylinders and everybody's ready to pounce. But since we're not, we're seeing the real negatives to our system right now, and it is highlighted in our team struggles. Finally, we had lots of guys playing out of position. Yeah, this is due to the fact that we're not a completely healthy team and we're trying to plug and play so that we can have a competitive roster out there. And also some of the decisions I'm sure most of us disagreed with. We had Totland playing right mid, who I think did a job there. He is good going forward, but he's obviously a much better right back. We had Klein playing left mid, and he's a center mid. And as Ethan alluded to earlier in the episode, he's much better in the center. He got kind of lost out there, didn't get the ball nearly as much as we would like to see him on the ball, and just kind of had a very quiet performance. We had Edu playing as a number 10. This is the third or fourth time this season that's happened, and each time he has a quiet game. He's definitely more comfortable as a deep lying midfielder, and with him playing that high up the pitch when he does receive the ball, his opportunities for that decisive pass really dwindle because he's only looking up and seeing 2 runners as opposed to when he's deeper, he's seeing 4 or 5 runners. Jaden Reed played at center back. I thought he did a job there. He's definitely more comfortable as a left back, but as far as a plug and play center back in a 3-back formation, I thought he did fine. And then lastly, I'm going to harp on it. Markinich subbing on for Klein at outside mid. Like I said, most of the guys did okay out of position, but Markinich really didn't do well. He seemed lost and unsure of how to press from that position. I saw him like showing a lot of guys the interior of the field as opposed to like pushing them out towards the sideline, which is like a no-no in our Gegenpress. Like if you're gonna press them, do not show them towards the center of the field. He also doesn't really know what to do going forward when he did receive the ball. Like I saw him try to take on 1 or 2 guys, and both times he lost the ball. So like hack either change formation and drop him into a left back, or don't sub Markinich on at left mid. Yeah, that is it for my point. Just more question marks as far as those players out of positions than answers.
Extremely well said, Jacob. I think 38% possession is almost despicable when we have the quality of Edu Lovin and Njabo Blom in the midfield. And with the numbers that we have in a 3-4-2-1 formation, it allows the midfield to be able to connect and, play off of one another. So I totally agree that we should have held the ball more and have more quality possession. I'd also would say that's been a theme on the year a little bit. And I also agree that Edu Lovin is best fitted deeper in the field. I think that Jose Kahima and John Klein have proved that they could both take up that 10 role decently. So, yeah, I'd prefer to see Lovin further back.
I just have to say I disagree partly on the possession percentage because we've seen St. Louis look so good having super low amounts of possession, especially last season. So it's definitely alarming to see how far we fall into now. We can see Kansas City start to dominate the ball instead of their game plan to us last season, which was let us have the ball. So now they're playing into our strengths, and they're not even our strengths anymore, is what it starts to look like for St. Louis. So that's the only thing that's worrying me about the possession percentage is that, like, yeah, we used to flourish in that kind of situation. We're just looking a lot less clinical.
Cool. Well, any final thoughts on the game from you two?
I have a couple of final things to say. So, do you want to go first, Grayson?
No, that's all you do.
So, I saw a really honestly a tear-jerking video for me before this match. The St. Louis Santos supporter group traveled in a bus down to Kansas City to all go to the game together, tailgate, and march into the stadium together. And there was a beautiful moment when Super Santo, the supporter group leader, and his son, who's in the Air Force, were reunited before the match. It checked off a bucket list goal for Super Santo to watch Sporting Kansas City play against St. Louis with his son. So I thought that was a really beautiful moment. The club even reposted it on Twitter. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. Don't watch it in public unless you're okay with crying in public. And the last thing that I have to say is once again, humongous props to our supporters. They stayed loud and proud after the match, and in my opinion, really humiliated the Sporting Kansas City support, chanting for 10, even 15 minutes after the game, being loud, supporting. And this is common of St. Louis City away fans. It was my experience that they hung out and chanted in Cincinnati. So it's really inspiring and amazing to see the support even in this downtime. I know that we've even ranted about supporting the club in these bad times. So it is in full swing, the support and the love for the club. And it really brought some warmth to my heart, even in these tough times.
I do have to shout out. We have seen a lot of controversy and beef between St. Louis and Kansas City in our past matches. But this match, I did see a lot of love being shared on social media between the two clubs. I saw some Kansas City fans shouting out the STL support for staying and cheering. So, kind of nice to see a different side to the derby. That it is, it is a game. I know it gets heated from time to time, but hey, we're all in the game of supporting soccer in Missouri and soccer in America. So, the beef still stands, but hey, soccer's brings us together.
Lastly, my last thing. We will see them again one more time at a minimum this season. September 28th at home against Sporting Kansas City. And that'll be that'll be the fourth game before the end of the season. So we're predicting to go on a run after Leagues Cup. It could be a very, very crucial home game for us against them. And by then, hopefully we have most of everybody who's available to be back and be healthy, and it could be a much different outcome.
Yup, Kansas City, don't forget it. We have better soccer and better barbecue GG's on the draw. We will see you in September, gentlemen. I am so excited for that matchup. I think it's going to be a critical point of the season for both of these teams, toward the bottom of the table, but still challenging on the outside looking in, perhaps. Well, gentlemen, Jacob, you mentioned it, the League's Cup. Oh, no, I'm getting too far ahead of myself almost.
Hey, we've all done it this year. Let's go.
It is time for a Kit Clash showdown,
Ding, 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 ding,
gentlemen.
ding.
This week, we're going to let Seattle's home kit take on Sporting Kansas City's home kit because neither one of them hold a candle to this bad boy. Who wants to go first this week? We're doing Seattle first.
I'm just gonna go quick. Seattle, you guys have dummied us in both games that we played you. Your kit's a little too green for me. Yeah, it's just gonna be a basic ass 5.0 for me. Get good, kid.
Damn.
What you got for Kansas City?
Oh, okay. Kansas City, lick my balls. It's gonna be another 5. No, it's gonna be 4.9. You lose to Seattle in Kit Clash.
I'm going to follow up with that same type of energy because, like you have mentioned before, Jacob, I'm going to get my lick back on Seattle. They wanted to get a 2-0 victory, so I'm going to give their kit a 2.0, even though I think I've gone on record as liking that kit on this podcast before. So this time it gets a revised rating of 2.0, and a Sporting Kansas City home kit is going to get a 0 for me. These suck. These are terrible. In my opinion, these look like they really want to be in North Carolina blue, but just haven't quite figured it out. It's too bad they didn't wear their throwback Wizards kit because that actually does kind of bang, but still doesn't even go too hard. 0 for me. This is the worst kit in the league easily.
Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap it up here. Seattle. Yo, enough with the slander. These kits are fire.
Oh my god.
The vertical stripes, the rebrand, the new logo. I think it's all fire. Regardless what happened on the pitch, the kit itself gets a rating of a 9.3 from me. I love this shit. The white collar, it's just clean. The blue shorts, it all around. I think it's classy.
You're gargling right now. You need to relax.
It's just fire. Shit's fire. Kansas City, you get 1.2.
Okay. I can't be the highest rated Sporting Kansas City, so I'm gonna match Ethan and go with a 0.
It is horrible. The one little button on there is just unredeemable. There is no chance people wear Sporting Kansas City jerseys. I refuse to believe that. And also, I will admit that my rating for Seattle is pure hate. I do really fuck with their Orca. I'm excited to see what we rated their home kits earlier on this year to see what their real ratings are.
We'll just average them out at this point.
Yeah, it's whatever. Well, that wraps up Kit Clash. I think Seattle might have won that one. But let's go ahead and take a peek at our next match. We're taking a break from the MLS. We're done with it. Obviously, we're not doing too hot. We'll forget about it. Leagues Cup time. We are playing against FC Dallas in the first round. Familiar foe. We've seen him twice this season. Boys, how do you think this one's going to come out?
Well, last time we played them, I reminded the gentleman earlier before we started recording that last time we saw them, RIP Celio Pompeu's leg, he broke it in Dallas. This game does, however, take place at home. So I'm feeling good about it. Our new signings are all totally available for it. I would expect to see Toykert back in the starting lineup, maybe even JGR start. Who knows? He's going to have another week training with the team. At minimum, I think he deserves more than 10 minutes of run out. Some people to look at, obviously, Jesus Ferreira is always a baller up top for them. Paul Areola, the big nipple. Delgado's also a baller in their midfield. They have a good squad. Iloramendi, he can also lick my balls along with all the other players that I've said can lick my balls this season. I might be at a starting 11 now with that amount. I do think we should turn our focus towards making a run at this to potentially secure some sort of silverware for the season. Um, yeah, I'm gonna predict a win at home against FC Dallas 3-1, and I think Toykert bags his first for the club.
That's an excellent shout, Jacob. I would be electric to choo choo.
I love that. I love that.
So yeah, we came up against the last time we played Dallas. They did beat us 2-0. Jesus Ferreira converted a penalty, and their annoying center back in Kosi Tafari scored a header. I, like you, Jacob, agree that we are going to see a St. Louis City victory and share the sentiment that we should focus on this to get some high points out of the season as we go forward and reflect back on this pretty tumultuous year with a lot of dark spots. A good run in the League's Cup could mean a lot to the squad. And like you alluded to, it's a great chance for our new signings to get their feet under them. So I'm going to pick our other new signing in the attacking half of the field, Marcel Hartel, to get a goal, seeing as he's just arrived in St. Louis and will have a full 7 or 6 days, I guess, to get to training. So I'm going to pick him to score in a 3-2 victory. I think we're going to hit the back of the net multiple times. So come on, St. Louis, bring home the 3 points before FC Juarez.
Okay. So this matchup, I'm really starting to hate FC Dallas. Every time I see Peter Musa, Paul Areola, I get flashbacks and I just get angry. Just not about it. Why I oughta. But yeah, I do want to manifest positivity. We're gonna bring home a dub in this first match. I think it's gonna be 1-0. I think it's gonna be a close match, but this is gonna be a big one defensively. And we've been talking about it. We've seen some bangers from our center defensive mids this season. We've seen a Chris Durkin rocket. We've seen Jabulo Blum rocket. I think it's time for the hot hand, Akil Watts, to score a rocket. Let's hear it.
Okay.
I fuck with all of our predictions. It's a nice change of pace from our last episode where we predicted a loss.
Oh, it felt
Depressing.
sickening. Yeah.
No more of that. None
I
of
like
that.
your 1-0 prediction, Grayson. I think that's a lot more realistic than mine, just given the context of these two games. But yeah, this is going to be our next match for City. It's going to be a very important one, gentlemen.
Indeed.
I will say to the people listening, feel free to share your predictions either through Instagram. You can find us on Instagram. Link will be down below, or comment on this video. I'm very interested to see how other people are viewing how the team is playing this year. So please let us know.
I do want to shout out the Kansas City fan who DM'd us after Kansas City scored. He just said Golasso, I think. Well played. Very funny.
Dude, the last thing I want to say just before we round out this episode is that I will let my apologies be as loud as my disrespect. Nufki Thorson, I see you, bro. I see you. You've come a long way since your first few matches for St. Louis City. I think we've seen a good he's improved quite a lot this season. 3 goals in his last 4 games, playing out of position, and we need a striker. We need someone to be putting the ball in the back of the net. So I'll hold my arms up. Nufki, I'm coming around on you. I like you. Keep playing like a dog.
I hear you, Ethan, and I will match that only when he stops fucking with his headband 80% of the game. Every time I see him adjust his headband, I want to shave his fucking head.
What if we get Skinhead Thor and he scores like 30 goals? So that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes.
A little Fernando Torres action. All right, gentlemen. Well, do we have any other final comments about St. Louis City?
I'm feeling good. New faces coming in, transitional period for the club. Take this time, St. Louis fans, to rest and prepare for a crazy end of the year.
Yeah, only thing that I have to say is the normal pieces. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, rate 5 stars and hit that follow button. And most importantly, do not forget to tell your mother you love her. I'm Jacob. Peace.
Oh,
STL. That's good.
Oh, I gotta stop recording.